everyone. Ashley Mailloux, Scott Shapiro here with the Friday race of the day for January 2nd. We'll go down to Hot Springs, Arkansas to Oaklawn Park for their 8th race on the program. It's a new stakes race down at Oaklawn Park named in honor of Dwayne Lucas. It's called The Coach for $135,000, a mile and a 16th. It's a restricted stakes race for straight 4-year-olds. And it's only a field of 6, but in terms of the morning line, I know the 4 Tap Into This is heavily favored at 8-5. I still feel like there are 2 other horses that have a really good shot.
I do as well. I think Tap Into This at 8-5 is vulnerable. I think you can make the case for 3 others. We'll see where we line up and where we don't. But yeah, I think it definitely goes deeper than Tap Into This, who definitely has run some fast races, but has some gait issues and really isn't all that proven at 2 turns.
Yeah, and especially at Oaklawn Park, 0 for 2 in terms of victories. We'll take a look at the Time Form US pace projection here, and with this compact field, kind of expect this to maybe get a little strung out in terms of where horses could be positioned, but it looks like 2 horses might want the lead in here. The 2-0 Sugar, who exits a race at Zia Park off the freshening, as well as the number 5 in here, Amarosa, for Chris Hartman, who showed that speed last time out, but is going to now try to carry it around 2 turns.
Yeah, it says the pace favors front runners. That doesn't surprise me, but I think it might be a little quicker than, that blue might suggest. I think the pace, because of Zero Sugar, because of Amarosa, and maybe, another horse could get involved early. Royal Bro does have Luis Saez and is stretching out. He doesn't break well, but if he shows speed from the gate, he could be more involved than that, than the projector suggests.
And just to note here, the late pace flag, LP flag, is attached to the 6 Best Friend Rocket, first off the claim for those connections. But let's dive right into it, Scott, with the number 1 First Division. We'll take a look at that most recent race. Now, this was after, 6 months of rest, almost to the date. Comes back to Oaklawn Park, and I thought came back in a big way. No, it's not a career best buyer speed figure, but it's pretty close. And to see the way that he handled the 2 turns locally once again, I wonder if he gets a similar trip in here and if it works out for him again.
Yeah, Indiana breds have kind of worked out well for Kenny McPeak. He has one of the most successful of all time with Corningstone. Now he's got a male here with First Division, and this one's been taking on mostly open company and held his own other than Arkansas Derby. Ran well last time, likes the racetrack. He beat a horse that's 46 races, so a veteran, kind of a grinder. But First Division definitely fits in this spot very well and should get a good trip.
The number 2, Zero Sugar, we'll take a look at his most recent effort. Now, he's very lightly raced. He's a horse that kind of look at him, 3 starts under his belt. He's yet to finish worse than second. And after his maiden score, he took a fair bit of time off, but he came back at Zia Park in the Zia Park Derby, and he tries to get up here in what ended up being a big field for this rendition of the Derby, but he just could not get to Brother Kenny. But I thought it was a big effort and a big number as well.
Yeah, it wasn't the most comfortable trip in there. Brother Kenny, came with a wide sweeping move, and Zero Sugar had to battle between horses. Not the best trip for a lightly raced horse. That was only his second start going long, and he finished well, battled. I mean, if you look at his debut race, Cornucopian was the only horse that beat him that day, and Cornucopian, has had some issues since then. But man, that was a super impressive debut effort. So he's done very little wrong in here. I wouldn't be surprised if he goes favored.
The 3 Royal Bro, a big price on the morning line at 20-1. He comes in here off a 3rd place finish. Now, it was his first start in over a year. I hadn't seen him since November of 2024, where he's 7th on the grass. And curious to see what the long-term strategy will be. I felt like some of his turf races, they were good, maybe not the best of figures, but he at least ran well first time off the layoff.
He did. I mean, he got, he didn't get out very, very well, which seems to be an issue for him. Maybe that's why Luis Saez is bored, but it was a contentious pace. It was a good setup, but off the long layoff, he finished well. He finished well in his previous turf races. He looks like a turf horse to me as well. So this is an interesting spot, but with Luis Saez aboard, if he can get him into the race more, I think he can outrun his odds at the very least.
The 4 Tap Into This, we talked about being the heavy favorite on the morning line. This one for Steve Asmussen, a horse that has raced very well throughout his career. I mean, you can see that. There's not really a blemish. He's yet to finish out of the top 3. Now, the big thing with him, he's going to return to 2 turns, and I think that's something to talk about. I know he came up a little bit short last time out, but still a good effort, even though he was favored. I mean, I do think it is worth noting he's got to stretch back out, Scott.
It's a tough read, but the price kind of tells me how to read it. I would not be surprised if he runs well. He's such a tap it though, right? Like he's got mental issues at the gate. And you wonder if he's Steve, he's bred to go 2 turns. You wonder if Steve Asmussen, a horseman like him, knows that maybe the mental capacity for 2 turns isn't quite there. So I've got my questions about him in terms of, betting as a favorite. He's 0 for 2 at the distance, and you mentioned he hasn't necessarily shown an affinity for this racetrack either.
The 5 Amarosa, 3-1 on the morning line, a son of Sky Mesa, who just had one start in the barn of Chris Hartman. That was that runner-up finish last time out in the Silks back on December 19th. And curious to get your thoughts. I don't have a strong opinion either way, but sometimes I like the move of the cutback and then stretching back out. What do you think about that for Amarosa?
I think this horse is in a good spot. First off, he's 7-time winner. I know those are Iowa bred races mostly, but I like the fact that he, knows how to win races. And that was a good effort last out. I thought first off the bench. I think I previewed that race with David or Mike or somebody, one of the other folks, and we, didn't. We were curious how this horse would run. It was a tough read. I think Dreamin' Blue got a much better trip. He battled early. I think he's going to be forward, maybe even loose on the lead. And Chris Hartman, very capable when returning runners back off these quick layoffs.
The 6 Breast Friend Rocket is going to round out the field. I mentioned it earlier, was claimed for $40,000 in that most recent outing where he finished third. And, I thought it was a salty sort of $40,000 claiming event, but I still think he would need a huge step forward here. And we'll see what he can do at Oaklawn. He does have a win over the surface. And it was in a tough race. Look who he beat back in March. He beat First Division, but just haven't been enamored with his races since.
He hasn't won since leaving the Brittany Russell barn, and that, other than that one race you mentioned, which was right after he got into the hands of Dwayne Lucas, who the race is named after. It almost feels like, it was a 5-horse field. He might have got hustled into the race. First off the claim, why not give him a shot? He does have that late pace figure. I think he's just going to sit in the back and try to pass as many horses as possible. I'm not real excited about his chances to pass all that many of them, though.
That's the field of 6 for the first edition of the Coach Stakes. Don't forget, it's going to kick off the $3 Get Out Pick 3 and also the second leg there of the late Pick 4 with that 50-cent minimum. We'll move to our top selections here for the race of the day, and curious to see what we would do. And we go in, the same top 4, different order, but the strategy here trying to beat the morning line favorite.
Yeah, I think that's the way to go in here. Tap into this, especially kicking off that pick 3, like you said, to get out pick 3. I think you got Amarosa, who I think could be on the lead here, potentially winging it loose. That would be an advantage, but I could easily see your top pick as well as Zero Sugar winning this race. I am going to play against the favorite, as you mentioned.
All right, 5-2-1-4 for Scott. I'll go with First Division as my top pick for Kenny McPeak. Loved the effort last time out locally at this distance. So 1-4-2-5 for me. Don't forget free past performances for this race of the day and every race of the day on DRF.com. Good luck.